afternoon. Can you present yourself, please? Your name? Constantin NIYOMWUNGERE. Your parents? Nzugize Francois is my father. Your mother? Yamuremye Beata. Your date of birth? 10 July. 10 June 1976. Where is your address? If you live in Rwanda, give us your address, the full address. And if you are in another place, you give us your full address. I do not live in Rwanda, sir. I live in Belgium. I visit Rwanda in the course of my work. But, so where do you live? Commune Forêt in Brussels. Give your full address. I just wanted to make sure. The Forêt commune in Brussels.
Okay. Rwanda.
Thank you. There is a court case, as you see. RUSESABAGINA and co-accused, and the court wishes to be a witness for the prosecution, and but we thought that perhaps you should testify as an informant rather than a sworn witness. So can you explain very clearly and in details how Mr. RUSESABAGINA came to arrive in Rwanda? Thank you, Mr. President. That is that information will be given, but I think I should start with how we met, not just how we arrived in Kigali. If your permission, oh yes, we need those details. Thank you very much. So speak a bit closer to the microphone and don't speak too fast, because we have a registrar and they need to get your point clearly. Thank you. Thank you. Constantin NIYOMWUNGERE is my name. I am a bishop. Musenyeri in Kinyarwanda. And I met RUSESABAGINA in 2017 in Belgium through a common friend. The day I met him, Mr. RUSESABAGINA, we spoke. Our friend introduced us. He explained who I was, and then he explained to me who this gentleman RUSESABAGINA was. And he said he has a reason for getting me to meet Paul. So Paul took the floor and explained to me that he's the chairman of a political party, MLTD, an opposition party, and he had an armed group, FLN, and we spoke for a while. And then he said, well, look, I understand you are a bishop and in the Great Lakes area. can you help me? Because I want to get in touch with the Burundi leaders. I have a number of things that I wish them to facilitate for me, and if I can make them. So I spoke to the person who is introduced us. I said, well, I don't know that I can help you, but I can introduce you to somebody who can perhaps get you to government, into government circles. Okay, so in a few days, just a moment. You met, when did you meet? 2017. I don't remember the month, unfortunately. So after a while, I introduced him to someone who worked at the embassy so that they can talk. I told him that my work doesn't meet at all with politics and politicians. So I introduced him to this person at the embassy. Then we spoke. I spoke to Paul from time to time on WhatsApp and so on, or on telephone, or an email. There is even a time that I went to his home, twice in fact I went to his home. And then one day I read on the internet, you know, I used to follow BBC News, and I heard that in Rwanda there were deaths, people have been killed. And then they said they might sit there, and they fell in, you know, in the news. And there were other messages that came, you know, people, you are in groups and people send you info. So I sent a short message to Paul RUSESABAGINA. I said, but what's all this? And he said, no, those boys. These, no, I said, are these your people? I said, are these your people? He said, yes. And I was a bit afraid, you know, as a bishop, to have been talking to somebody of that sort. And I said, well, I have to get this clear. So I asked him, I said, Rusesa, did you really say that these are your people who did this? He said, no, you see, no. Monsignor, no, really, my worry is not that people have died. My worry is that when they killed him, there was Sankara went on the radio and claimed that they did it. So I said, oh, well, so they did it. Why didn't you want him to say so, to claim the fact? And RUSESABAGINA said, no, they should have done it and then kept quiet. So that if it's necessary, maybe we put it through social media, that it is the Rwandan authorities that did it. This is what we wanted. You know, it's usually it facilitates the work of getting the country to revolt, take up arms if the government is persecuting them. So I said, well, I think I made a mistake. I think I should, you know, stop all contact with this man. And what I didn't like, what I hated the most, is that you ask somebody, and these people have died, and he said, oh, we killed them. I said, but why did you kill your countrymen? And he said, oh, that's not my problem. The problem is that this Sankara, you know, spokesman went on the radio and claimed these killings. He should have said something else, because he shouldn't have said. But then I was shocked, really. I was shocked, because my job, what I have been consecrated for, was to help people I know to do these sort of things, and I'm a man of peace and compassion. So I went on speaking to me. Just a moment. You went. No, it was on telephone or WhatsApp. As little as possible, because I had a problem. I had a problem. I even asked God why He allowed me to meet a man of this sort. Because, okay, a political party is okay, it's no problem. But I said to somebody, these people died. He said, we killed them. And then he said, well, that's not my problem. My problem is that they die, okay? And then this Sankara fellow accepts it and claims that, and when we could have used it for something else. So I said, this man is not somebody I should continue to talk. Okay, when he wrote, I would answer vaguely. Sometimes I didn't cut, relations, but I had started studying his case, wondering what sort of man he is. Anyway. But, the relations got sort of disconnected. Then I came to Rwanda. It was in around 27th February. 27th February. I'm sorry, I think the dates I have to verify. But it was in February. And somebody called me on the phone. Person introduced themselves, but he didn't say what he was. But he was from RIB, Rwanda Investigation Bureau. And he said, well, I have a friend in Brussels. Can you take some little thing for him, please? Do you mind? I said, no. So I went to meet him. He said, where do we meet? I said, well, we'll meet wherever you want. He said, no. Please, it's just something very small. So I went. We had a driver. We went to where he said we'll meet. And he gave me, he said he was going to give me the parcel, small parcel, plus a friend. And then when I got to the meeting point, people came, and they came out of a car. They said, but you said you had a message. I said, no, come, we'll take you somewhere. Yeah, so he took me to an office. I will go to RIB, and he asked me a number of questions, including about RUSESABAGINA. And he said, well, these are the signs you are in contact with him. Well, I couldn't say no, of course. I said, yeah, I do. But I said, but can you call him? I called him from RIB office. Well, he didn't know, of course. I said, where are you? I said, how are you? He said, oh, where are you? He said, I'm in America. And so anyway, so that's what happened. And then the following day, so I went, and the following day, I went back. Michel, I don't remember the other name. Michel is the man who spoke to me more frequently. He asked me questions. He said, well, you see, now what happens? You are here because you are suspected of working with terrorist groups. Oh, I was so shocked. Imagine a bishop accused of working with the terrorists. He said, no, don't worry. I will show you signs, proof. What I have said, what happened, who said what, when. And he asked me when they met. And he said, well, RUSESABAGINA, is this, you know, he has a party. Did you know? I said, yeah, he told me. He has this group and that. I said, yeah, he told me. So therefore, you are in a league with him. So I came up, brought out everything. I explained that we are not together working on on that side. So he said, did you know that people were killed? And so I said, well, I heard, and this is what this man told me. And from that time, I stopped contact with him. Well, he does call me, but really disconnected, or more or less. Okay, so they will come and ask me questions. I show them what I do in Africa, my various projects, to prove that what I do in Rwanda and other countries has nothing to do with terrorism. That in any case, if I had been in league with these people and I had killed Rwandans, obviously I wouldn't have come to Rwanda. And I think after 5 days, Michelle said, well, look, okay, so now you can do whatever you want. What do you want to do? I said, if you let me free, you know, free of my movements, I will close any contact with RUSESABAGINA. I will not speak to him anymore. He said, no. We got we understand that you are not connected with him, but you can help us to follow this man so that you can help us prevent any future crimes. Oh, I said, well, okay, I accepted. I wasn't very assured, but I didn't feel very good, but I accepted. Now, let me go back a bit. They showed me the photographs of the damage they had done, the killings, the children who were orphans, the widows, and I was very upset. Really, to have met a man who commits such things and who is happy. I had never in my life met a man at all who was glad that people have died. So this is what happened. So I went on with him because well, that's what it is. And then I asked him when he contacted me. I said, I'm going to Burundi. And he said, are we going to Burundi together? If you're going to Burundi, can I go with you? I said, well, I don't know. Because I was in Kenya at the time. I wasn't in Europe. I was on my other projects in Kenya. I said, well, you know, if you want, we can see when I can be available to take you to Burundi. I'm sure you can manage that. Then, of course, I called Michelle. I said, well, look, Michelle, the man, yeah, you remember that the man is the one who works with me. I said, well, that man wants to go to Burundi, and he says that he wants me to go with him. When is it, more or less? I think in 2020. It must have been July or August, between July and August. So he's going to Burundi. What's he going to do there? To ask him. So I asked him, so how are you planning? What do you want to do, etc. He told me all the problems he has. His party has a problem, many problems, and his fighters also have problems. Those who were in Congo, many have been arrested. The others fled to the southern Kivu and even Burundi. I say that their leadership is not working well. You know, they now have a misunderstanding between them. He told me everything, and I told Michelle in turn. And Michelle, yeah, he said, okay, you go, but I can tell you that my heart was heavy already to have to talk to him. And then because up to that time I had never even been called to a police station, and now there is this man from Rib who has to give me permission to go here, to go there. He said, well, don't worry, you go there, you go with him and learn as much as you can. I said, oh, because you see, communication, as a bishop, 5 days that I am away from my work. And then if it turns out that 5 days I'll be with soldiers and terrorists, and so you wrote to Michelle, eh? I said, look, Michelle, I don't feel right. I said something that I cannot hide this. I said, well, look, this man that you say I have to watch, the Bible tells me that you should do good if you can. Now, I know killing is, of course, wrong. But I said, Michelle, please, this killer, can you allow me to do something so that he is arrested? And that is why. So he said, why? And I said, really, even when I pray, I don't feel comfortable. I see those children, those widows, and now to have to deal with the man who caused this. So we began to prepare. He said, but what is your idea? What do you want to do? I said, I think I should do something about him, because instead of a man, instead of being a dog, it's better to die than to be a coward. And Michelle said, well, okay, tell me what you want to do. So I spoke to RUSESABAGINA. I said, when are you leaving? He said, well, the problem is that going to Bujumbura is a problem. Because if I take a normal, regular flight, Rwanda has sent a note, a request, I don't know how you call that technically. Anyway, they had written, yes, written an arrest warrant. I said, if I take the normal car transport or normal plane, I will be arrested. So you see, you just said car. Did you mean car or plane? No, sorry. I meant regular flight. Yeah, regular flight, where there are all the Rwandans and Burundis and in those planes. So I understood that. In fact, 99% of what encouraged me to do what I'm telling you to do, he is the one who enabled me. RUSESABAGINA is the one who enabled me, because I got to know him, because I got to know his plans, because I got to know what kind of a man he is, and I came to know his plans, and I said, now I am decided, I will act. And then he said it was a problem with traveling by plane, worse even by car. So I said, well, I told Michelle or Mike I said, I have to act. I began my life well. I don't want to end badly. This man has got to be brought to something has to happen. So he has to be brought to justice. And so whatever he asked me, I said, well, it's possible I can take you to Burundi. And I was lying to him. I started lying to him. I said, well, the government, the authorities agree. There are people who can even pay your flight. But nobody, of course, has decided to charter a flight for him. I had never even contacted any Burundi authority. No, nobody at all. So he's here before me. He knows very well that this is the truth. When I saw what he did, I saw those orphans and those widows. I said, no, I cannot let him go. So anyway, I did everything that I had told him to arrange for his trip, and he was very happy to go to Burundi to meet his people. And he told me the names. I don't know if you want the names, but anyway, he told me the names of the important people of his group. Yes, his group. He told me the names of FLN and Rebellion and so on. But I didn't pay attention very much to that. What was important for me was to organize for him to be brought to justice. I spent a lot of nights, sleepless night planning, and I thank God to guide me in that, because we could not let this man go, because I said he has to be brought to justice. So I planned all that. I really did my best to make a good plan. And then one day I said, well, the plane I think is ready. Do you want to go through Europe or through Asia? He said, I can't go to Europe because Rwandans, he didn't tell me which ones, justice, I don't know. He said that they're working with the police of many European countries, and they may arrest me because the contacts I've seen with the law enforcement agencies in Europe, I don't feel well, because there is an arrest warrant. So Europe is not good for me. So I said, but what about Germany? No, he said, the whole of Europe. I said, okay, come to Kenya then. Kenya, he said, well, East Africa or Africa, I don't feel comfortable in Africa. Why don't you go to Dubai? He's the one who proposed it. I had said Asia and so on. He said, no, Dubai is okay. Dubai. Oh, so you were still in Kenya? Okay. He was still in America. He was still in America, I was in Kenya. He said, Dubai is fine. Arab countries are fine. I even know Dubai. I've been there many times, so that's fine. Okay, so we arranged that. And when the plans had ripened, I called Michel or Mike. He said, send me a copy of the aircraft, the plane. I did. Said, I want to make sure. So I did that. But of course, he thought he was going to Burundi. But myself, I had decided in my heart that he has to be brought to justice. I did not take him to kill us. I took him to justice. because I could not sleep anymore. To be under, or rather in contact with somebody who kills and then said he doesn't care. So Michel sent me everything, and he had shown me, so he had already paid the ticket and the passport for formalities. Why do you say Mike and then you say Michel? Is it Michel or Mike? Michel. But I think it's the same name, Michel Mike. Anyway, then I told Michel, look, this is what happened. He has sent me the ticket is there, everything is there, passport and so on. I said, don't worry, it will work. There have been there were times when I prepared something that didn't work well, but I think this will work well. Don't worry, don't worry. I have prayed for it. So he said, well, I will I will give you the further news. So I told RUSESABAGINA, okay, I'm going to Dubai from Kenya to meet. I spent 2 days in Dubai. I had never been to Dubai. And when it was time to arrive for him, I went to the airport with a nice car. So, we got his luggage and so on. I took him to the hotel. I had paid the hotel. And I was upstairs. I was downstairs, but in fact he didn't spend the night there because he just took a shower. He thought he would spend the night, but I told him that the best is to travel immediately, the same day. But from that time, of course I consulted him. He said, well, you see, if I spend the night here, it will be better. I said, well, look, you see, there are Rwandans in Dubai also. They may have discovered your presence. You will sleep. So, I convinced him to go. We went. We were at Ibis. We went to another airport for a private airline, for private jets. Okay, so when we got there, we went to the VIP lounge, and special people. So we went. I asked for the passport, and then I went to a hostess. I said, "Can you stamp these? Have these passport stamps?" They gave us a visa. We are both Belgian. We had Belgian passport. There was no problem of any sort. They just stamped our passport. And the visa was not necessary. When you come from Belgium, you go to Kigali, you're given the visa at the airport. No problem. Okay, so this is what happened. So what I want to say, whatever I did, I consulted him, and I did whatever he wanted. In other words, I just, I would say I used his weaknesses, manipulated him a bit, but there was never a time when I didn't do what he wanted. For example, they brought the passport after a few minutes, and then they called us. The flight was ready. We passed through the scanner in normal way. I and the suitcases came through the belts as usual. We went out, everything was ready. When we went out, there was a car, and I said, Mr. President, as a joke, I opened and he entered the car. I said, Mr. President, please step here. Please step forward. So we did that. And nothing else. We went to the aircraft to climb. And went into the aircraft. We boarded. But I changed a little the sitting arrangements. I didn't want him to the seat where he can see that screen that displays all the trip, you know, where the plane has reached. So I arrange so that he doesn't see the screen, because he was going to Bujumbura, and you know, I was going to make sure I get there. So that's what I did. That's what I did. When we were seated in the aircraft, Paul RUSESABAGINA was seated normally. A hostess came in the normal way, and as he's a bit chatty, well, I mean, okay, the flight, of course, made a message, and I know when they are going to make an announcement. When I heard, you know, the little sound that comes when the pilot is about to come onto the microphone. So I distracted Paul, you know, in a loud voice, and so that he doesn't hear what the pilot is saying, where we're going, you know, but the rest was just fasten your seatbelt, we're going from here, we'll arrive there at that time. So I distracted him. And then the hostess, as I said, came. He's a chatty man. Even on the phone, we spent many hours. He said to the girl, the young woman, tell me, from here to Bujumbura, how many hours? The girl, of course, was going to say, we're not going to Bujumbura. So, but fortunately, I prayed, please God, let this woman not say that we're going to Bujumbura. And he said, from here to Kigali, so many minutes. Then to Bujumbura, so many minutes. From here to Kampala, so many. So she gave the whole range, all countries. They are close, and the distance is more or less the same. So anyway, so that was that had passed, and then I said to the young woman, please bring us water. I said, Paul, aren't you tired? Let's recline and rest. So I said to the young woman, the hostess, I said, please, can you switch off the lights? Because Paul, I feel my friend is tired. I think we need to rest. Okay, so he rested, and then he fell asleep. I didn't sleep very well because I was worried. But so I couldn't sleep, really, to tell you the truth. I was awake all the time. And then they said we're going to land in Kigali. And when I heard the announcement, I looked at Paul, and he was still asleep. I said, thank God, that's good. And then eventually, when we arrived, we landed, I said, oh, we have arrived. He said, well, that's very interesting, because that didn't take a long time. I said, no, we've arrived. So the young lady said the suitcases will be taken care of. We came, we arrived, we went out. Then Mike came. And then he showed a paper, took him in his car. I went into a different car, and that was it. That was the last time I met Paul. If anything, there are any question, I'll answer, sir.
Thank you. The court will ask you a few questions, starting from where you just ended. You said once we hit the ground, the airport, I saw Mike Michel and he served him his arrest warrant. Can you explain how Michel came to know the exact landing time? Yeah, I think, you know, Michel is the one who chartered the flight, the aircraft. I don't know how he paid the flight. So he knew all the details of that flight. He was in charge of the whole operation. I told you all I did. So Michel knew everything, no doubt. You also said that he told you he's scared to travel in different African countries. He said, I wouldn't go to Nairobi. How did you win his trust that he would be fine in Bujumbura when it's also an African country? I told him it's my motherland. I told him, well, maybe you didn't get it correctly. I'm not the one who invited him. You know that. Well, we got that. We got that. We just want to understand a little more. So once I told him that he was going to Burundi, gave him all the trust he needed, but he was also in touch with the other people in Burundi who were inviting him. He also had he knew he was safe in Burundi because he was invited there. All I said is I told him that we'll find a private jet to get him there. Thank you. You also told us that he told you he had problems in his armed group. What else did you talk about? Did he talk about your churches, giving a talk at your churches? Has he ever prayed in one of your churches? He told you he had issues within his armed group in Burundi. Has he ever talked about your churches? Did you ever pray together since you were friends? Sir, well, please answer that question correctly. As part of his plan, was there anything related to giving a talk at your churches? Your Excellencies, that has nothing to do with his plan at all. Not at all. You know, my churches? You're talking about this gentleman, right? Well, ever since I met him, we have never talked about God. No, never talked about God. He never mentioned that name of God. Then how could we have talked about him coming to Burundi in godly matters? No, we've never done that. And about praying, giving a talk at my church, he's never prayed at any one of my churches. I've been watching YouTube where he says that I invited him to give a talk to my congregations in Burundi about his film. Your Excellency, please check for yourself to find out whether he has given a talk in a church anywhere in the world. I couldn't have invited him to give a talk to my church about his film. That film talks about killings that happened here. There's no reason for me to come and teach killings in Burundi. We've seen killings in Burundi ourselves. There would be no benefit in doing that. I already knew who that guy was. I was not going to pay a plane ticket for him to bring him to Burundi. In our churches, Your Excellency, he's the one who told me this private jet has cost at least $100,000 to charter it. So what church will pay $100,000 to pay for a private jet for somebody who doesn't contribute in any manner to the church, does not help the church in any way? That was a big lie. That's what I want to say briefly. I've never invited this guy. Another question is, you said that the idea to bring him to justice is your own. You're the one who is the originator of that idea. Do you mean that when the RIB agent called you, was he worried? Was he concerned that you collaborate with RUSESABAGINA the first time they arrested you? He thought you were collaborating with RUSESABAGINA? That's right. He showed me the messages we had been exchanging. And he said some people in Belgium helped Michel to get that information, those phone records. He said, you're in touch. What are you doing? Did he express any idea? Did he ask you to help him? No. There was nothing else behind his arresting me. They arrested me, asking me, thinking I collaborate with that individual. And like I said, I've never been involved in any political activity, never belonged to a political party, nothing of the sort. What I told you is what I told RIB. I told them I didn't know anything about his activities. You told us about RUSESABAGINA's trip. You told us you're the one who crafted the idea for him to travel from America to Burundi. He paid his air ticket from America to Dubai. Is that correct? No, you got it wrong. I'm not the one who started the idea to take him to Burundi. He is the one who expressed his idea to go to Burundi and asked me to go with him. But what I did is, I started the idea to bring him to Rwanda. So please understand, you need to get that right. What I was saying that RUSESABAGINA is the one who had the idea to go to Burundi, paid his own air ticket from America to Dubai. And from Dubai to Burundi, he had told, did he tell you what he was going to do, how he was going to travel? I'm the one who had told him that I was in touch with Burundi officials who were going to facilitate us getting a private jet. And he said, is that so? And I said, yes. But let me repeat this. There's nowhere the Burundian government was involved. Nobody. I've never spoken to anybody in the Burundian government. I did it as I had planned. Didn't he tell you about the interest Burundian officials would have in paying him a private jet? Well, he's an adult. You can ask him about his plans, the plans he had to go to Burundi. Well, he probably had plans to talk to Burundian officials, but I know nothing about that. I told you what I did, and the motives I had. But he had his own plans in Burundi. But what I did is what I told you, and I did what I should have done to make sure that this individual is brought to justice because of the pain it caused me when he told me he was behind the killing of innocent children and other people. So please repeat, who found the private jet and paid for it? I think, like I told you, the only individual I know is a guy called Michel. He told me he could find a private jet, that he will take care of it. And I said, if you can do that, then let me pray to God and plan the rest of it. And I told him, God is with me. I'll do that. Because he kept asking me, can you do that? And I said, God will help me. God is the father of all orphans. I told him, gave him all the verses, including this one that says, if you know what's good and you don't do it, then it's a sin. Because I told myself, if I do this and it helps bring justice about, then I gotta do it. So you ask the rest to Mike. He's a RIB staff. Well, we're asking you. If we want to ask anybody else, then we'll do it. So please answer the questions, because it's only you here today. If we need to ask anybody else, we will. Well, the only person I know is Mike. I never paid any money to get that private jet. The person I spoke with about the plane is Mike. The last question from me. And that private jet, was there any other passenger? No, it's a private jet. It was only me and this gentleman, Paul. The other person was the air hostess, who was bringing us drinks and serving us. And then there was a pilot, maybe one or two, I don't know, in the cabin, in the cockpit. But the only passengers were me and Paul. He knows it. There was only two of us. So the plane's itinerary for the pilots to know that they were going to Kigali or Burundi, who gave that itinerary? Is it you? Was it somebody else? Your Excellency, I knew I was flying to Kigali. The RIB contact knew I was coming to Kigali. The only person who didn't know they were going to Kigali is the gentleman, Paul. Even the pilots knew they were flying to Kigali. But who told the pilots and the plane that you were going to Kigali? I don't know. I don't know. And about payment of that private jet, when did you know that? When did you find out that it was paid for? Well, I found out that very day in the morning. Paul was on his way. So who told you about that? Well, I was told by Mike. But knowing how it was paid, the cost, did you know? No, I know nothing about that. Well, I found out the plane was ready for us, because I did that over a month and a half, and all the time praying to God, so He helped me and guide me. I told Mike about what was happening, and told me, don't worry about the plane. So, planning that operation, how long did it take? Did you talk to RUSESABAGINA? How many times did you talk with him? Well, about that operation, I told you that whatever RUSESABAGINA told me is what I used. He gave me the information I used to plan this operation over a month and a half. but I think it's a month and a few days. We kept planning, and we kept refining this, and he knows what we did. I can't say everything here. When the time comes, when it's necessary, I will tell you more. But what I wanted to do was to show you my role in this. What are the things that you're saying you will not tell us? Well, he will tell you himself. He's been talking about on the radio that he was coming to preach in Burundi, and I deny that. Then he will explain to you what kind of preaching he was about to make. You told you that once you found out that people were killed in those FLN attacks, you almost stopped dealing with RUSESABAGINA. Now, except for the trip, how many times did you talk with him before that trip? Your Excellency, please understand this. There is, well, I mean contact, not well, I meant contact. Well, before that planning, we would talk, just small talk, greetings, way before then. But after that, once I found out what he was doing, I started trying to find out exactly who he was, what he was doing, even before Reeb arrested me. Because I came to find out that according to Belgian law, I was going to be in trouble. If they were to find out about the contact I had with him, because it's not easy to hide that. You know what they had publicly said that they had done, the whole world knew. So after I found out what they were up to, I really reduced the number of times we would talk. If I did, it was for a certain purpose. Now, when he told you he was planning to go to Burundi, you know, we want clarification on a few things, you know. So what did he tell you exactly that he was going to do? Please repeat that. He told me he was going to meet the leaders. Did he tell you the names of those leaders? Yeah, I know one of them. One of them is called Brigadier General Jeva. There was another one from who was in the Congo, but he said he was going to meet them and help them because they were facing some issues. How about Burundi leadership? Did he tell you the leaders he wanted to meet? No, he never told me about the Burundian leaders he wanted to meet, but he told me he would meet some leaders because he's the one who informed me about his trip, and that was the starting point. And Your Excellency, you know, news. When there's thunder, the news of that thunder is told by the one who was not stricken. So I had to investigate personally to know this individual. In a nutshell, he was going to Burundi to meet the leadership of his armed group. Was that the first time he was going to Burundi? Did he tell you? Did you ever talk about that? He once told me a long time ago, before the 90s, maybe in the 70s, we were talking about schools and stuff like that. But it was the first time he was going, and that's why he was asking me, as a person, as an acquaintance, asking me if I could come with him on that trip. But I don't know if he had been there before. I'm not sure. Let's ask one final question from the court. Rusesabagina will have time, or the prosecution, to ask you questions. Apart from talking with RUSESABAGINA on the plane, that plane that brought him to Kigali, and you asked him to lie down. Did you sedate him in any way? Sedating him? Yes, that's the question. Any tablets you gave him, any drink that caused him to go to sleep? Well, ask him personally. We both went to sleep. We shared whatever we took. We were served by the same air hostess, and we went to bed. And I didn't have any personal drinks that I brought on board. They served the drinks, and we drank, and we went to sleep. I didn't give him anything. Okay, does anybody else want to ask this informant and any questions? RUSESABAGINA and your defense or the prosecution, do you want to ask him any question? I see RUSESABAGINA in his defense talking, consulting. Anything? No. The prosecution, anything you want to ask the informant? If you want the court to ask the questions for you, we can do that. Thank you, Your Honor, honorable judges. The prosecution had asked for this informant to explain a few things to the court and also be asked and answer a few questions. The prosecution is satisfied. Thank you. Well, last question. Mr. Constantin, what motives did you have to seek justice for those people? Why did you want to do everything you could to bring RUSESABAGINA to justice? That determination was rooted in my activities, in my status as a person of God. If you're going to heaven, and once you find out that somebody is involved in killings, you're not going to keep quiet. He told me, I don't care if people died. That's not a problem. I'm just disappointed that Sankara has publicly acknowledged the killing. From that very minute, I said, this is horrible. I met a horrible person like this. So that determination is rooted in the Word of God. I knew then that I could not associate myself with people who commit acts like that. You know, I've also mentioned those images of the victims, people crying, orphans. The Bible tells us not to kill, not to shed blood. In the Genesis, it says the tears of your relative is crying out for revenge. And I could also say, well, it's the Holy Spirit that pushed me. I kept praying. I was fasting. And I was praying to God, please make a miracle for those orphans and widows to get justice. So only God helped me. Those are the things that motivated me. Weren't you motivated or pushed by Mike or that Michelle, Your Excellency? People can do things. Many of people can do things. But please look at this way. I'm a bishop. I know no karate. I'm not a soldier. I can't fire a shotgun. I had two things. Well, there was two things. I could die and I could get out of it safe. But I was determined Like I told you, if you know what's good and you don't do it, then that's a sin. That Mike, Michelle, never did anything to push me. I'm the one who came up with the idea and shared it with Michelle. I'm not scared. Whatever happens, I did what I had to do at the right time. Thank you very much.
uretse Rusesabagina,
is there any, apart from Rusesabagina, is there any member of the FLN that you had conversation with or contact? Apart from Rusesabagina, I repeat, somebody in his in these groups, FLN and so on, that you spoke to? Well, there are some he showed me one day. He showed me some of them, but I wasn't in contact with them. There are things that that I may say when you wish to give me more, you wish me to give more testimony, I will cite names. No, the question was, did you meet any of the FLN MLCD that you spoke to? Yes, there are some that I spoke to. Thank you very much. The court, thank you. As you say, today was just general information about his coming. The rest, when we come to the actual trial and we need you, we shall call you. So we thank you for this information. Thank you very much. You may take your place. Don't go away, because there is something that you need to sign afterwards. Please don't leave. You may just take your seat. So, prosecution, you wanted to discuss the issue of Rusesabagina's coming to Rwanda, but we've only got 10 minutes or so. So please be brief if you have anything to say. Thank you, Mr. President. Brief after the informant has spoken.